Howdy, and welcome to the White Hat Law Show with Warren Nord, where we cover a mix of current events, politics, and the law. Take it away, Warren.
Welcome to the second episode of White Hat Law. I'm Warren Nord with Nord Law, and this episode we'll be talking about smoking bans and other forms of tyranny. I say that jokingly. With me is Nick Alexander, who's President and General Counsel for Clicks, and Andy Pryor of Citizens for Better Arlington. And we're going to be talking today about the Arlington smoking ban, and I guess we have one proposed in Fort Worth. So let's talk first about billiard rooms and how they are often impacted by smoking ordinances. Nick, you've been involved with these things for a long time. Give us a quick rundown.
Yes, I've been in the business. I started the company 30 years ago and built it to 30 locations in 5 states. Approximately 12 years ago, I got a call from the liquor license people saying that there was a smoking ban that was going to be voted upon in Tempe, Arizona, and would I donate some money to help advertise against that. And at the time, we had been open, say, 10 to 12 years every year. The sales were up, business was good. My locations across the country were doing well. And I really don't like to be around smoke myself. And I said, well, I sent them a check for $500.
To pass or to stop it from passage?
To stop it from passing.
Right.
Correct. And we lost by 2 percentage points. And I think it was like 9 months later we were closed. So we went from being very profitable to closed in a short period of time. And that's a location, these locations, depending, run up to $1 million to put in. So we lost that. I was shocked how fast it happened. The most recent smoking ban that I've been involved in was Waco, Texas. And in Waco, we spent, say, $70,000 or so building a patio to try to mitigate the damage. But still, it's over a year now and we're still open. But it's not doing nearly as well. And the only reason it's doing as well as it is the other competitor we had in town closed. For whatever reason, billiard players, there's a bigger percentage of those that smoke.
In Waco, if you were a city council person who thought that, well, we're going to make this smoking ordinance happen, it's going to help our economy because the smokers will be driven out of the billiard rooms, and the non-smokers will show up. That seems to be the theory. Does that happen?
Absolutely not. Theoretically, if you say 70% of your patrons smoke, and then the smoke goes away, then, well, heck, you still got the 30%. Now you've got the bigger percentage of people that are non-smokers, and I say that'd be great, but it absolutely doesn't work that way.
Bowling alleys seem to have a market differentiator. Some of them are smoking, some of them are non-smoking. Smokers like to play pool, and pool is played by people who smoke.
Correct.
It's one of the few sports that you can actually smoke while you are playing the sport.
Correct.
So we'll talk about Arlington. You got Clicks there in North Arlington, right?
Correct.
Tell us about Clicks.
Well, I'm trying to remember how it's been open over right around 10 years now, and we invested just under $1 million to do all the finish out, buy the tables and put in the kitchen equipment and everything that's involved. So far, our investment hasn't been that great because we've only recouped 50%, right at 50% of the money. So if we happen to lose that store, that would be a $500,000 loss for us on a store that is now profitable, and we have every chance now, without the smoking ban, to get our money back and make profits.
And what kind of salaries do these people have? I mean, are these minimum wage jobs, or they have benefits?
No, the lowest paid employees in the locations are like $15, $17 an hour. The managers, one of them's making over $100,000. I think one of them's making $75,000. And they also have 401k, health insurance. So, and I mean, there's a real fear that they have that's they're going to lose it. The other thing is as you lose stores, there's an impact on the corporate structure. Like over the years, I was saying we had as many as 30 stores. We're down now to 14. And when you go from 30 to 14, now you have to lay off. We had to cut back our offices and half of our people in accounting, and so they all lost their jobs.
You lose some scale.
Yeah.
NORAD Law sued on behalf of the Dream City Coalition, which is the group that you're the lead plaintiff for, along with Shauna Ryder, of her bar. What's the status of that? I mean, have you pulled your ashtrays?
No.
So people are still.
As far as I know, there hasn't been a movement to actually enforce it yet. I'm sure that's around the corner, but
You think it's probably waiting for the end of the litigation? I'm assuming, but it may not be.
Who knows? Who knows?
Are you building a patio?
Yes.
Well, I mean, you either have to stop allowing people to smoke, right?
Right.
How far do they have to be from a door?
15 feet.
Now, there was a discussion in City Council that somehow you were in favor of this as long as you could have the 15-foot
There was a misunderstanding. I feel Councilman Shepard, I actually did some research on this 100% smoke-free ordinance that they wanted, and I started calling all the cities and finding out how far they had to be from the door. The original ordinance was 50 feet. Well, if you think about 50 feet, you're out in the parking lot, you're across the street.
Right.
But I found out that several of them had 15 feet. And I spoke to one of the council ladies there, and they actually changed that after I showed them the statistics. And Councilman Shepard called and asked if basically, am I happy with that? And the fact is, yes, that's great, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
Right.
Yes, thank you for doing that, because now we have a chance. And he took it to mean I'm happy.
Supportive of the law of the ban.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
there was a misunderstanding there.
well, I appreciate that. Now, of course, the law doesn't require 100% smoke-free city, right? They get their gold star, but they can still have smoking in fraternal organizations.
Right.
So you can have fraternity organization has a picnic on a public property, on a public park. They can still smoke around their children, and that's perfectly legal. Am I getting that right?
I'm more familiar with the bingo parlors than the fraternal organization.
Yeah, but there are two exceptions, right?
Yes.
Fraternal organizations, bingo halls. So bingo halls just require 18 years old, although the city requires 21-year-old in the bingo halls. And then the fraternal organizations, they can just smoke freely around their kids, and that's okay. And so here you have a bar that's where everybody's over 21, and somehow they're not allowed to. We've got to protect everybody from themselves. Can you walk down the street in Arlington, according to this law, and just smoke freely?
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it's 100% smoke-free. Have we ever figured out what is required to get the gold star, the happy little gold star that says we're smoke-free? Has anybody ever figured that out?
Nobody can smoke. None of the businesses.
Certainly, if we said nobody can smoke in the city.
They do make some exceptions.
Right, but it doesn't seem like there's any real. It's just whatever the cancer people want to decide. You're good enough, you get the gold star. So it's kind of strange. Well, when we come back, we'll talk more with Andy about the petition effort and some things to do to try to fight back against this regulatory effort. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Hang on, y'all. More with Warren when we get back.
Welcome back. Andy, you were with CBA. What's that stand for? Where does that come from? And tell us all the things we need to know about CPA.
Absolutely. CBA stands for Citizens for Better Arlington. This is a community group of local residents in Arlington who basically came together originally because of the red light camera campaign. They wanted to gather signatures and get red light cameras banned in Arlington. That was successful, and we have now moved on to bigger and better things, but unfortunately some of them not quite as successful. Last year we were involved in the stadium campaign against the city and the Rangers to stop them building a brand new $1 billion stadium.
What is it, to stop them from building a stadium?
I think some people wanted to stop the building stadium. Some people just wanted to save the current stadium.
Save the current stadium and not give away $500 million?
Not give away $500 million. I mean, that was the thing that I think certain leaders within Arlington didn't quite understand, was there was a variety of people coming from a variety of perspectives that all had one common goal. And they may not have necessarily agreed on every other topic,
right?
But we were able to come together and work together because we saw where the city was just doing things without the consideration of everyone's perspectives.
So with regard to the smoking ban, what is Citizens for Better Arlington doing about that?
So we obviously are supportive of the lawsuit, but our way of supporting it is through a petition drive. We want to change the city charter of Arlington to allow citizens of Arlington to be a little more involved in city government in Arlington through an initiative, referendum, and recall petition.
So this is a structural change to the charter.
Absolutely. This would give the citizens of Arlington more say in our city government. It would give us essentially, through the initiative and referendum process, a veto power on the city government passing new ordinances that the majority of the city of Arlington's residents find to be unnecessary or tyrannical or anything that you might think of.
So because this is about transparency and responsive government, all the city council's in favor of this, right?
Oh, of course. Actually, we haven't even asked their opinion.
Well, you should ask. One of them should be asked given an opportunity to sign the petition and participate.
I do think that's something we will definitely need to get to.
Absolutely.
We're only 1 month in. We've got about 5 more months left to gather signatures.
And how many signatures do you have to get?
Legally, we're required to get over 10,000 signatures. And part of this petition would lower the signature requirement for future efforts down to as little as 2,000 signatures. So it'd make it easier for citizens to propose additional changes down the road to the city charter for whatever issue they might be interested in. And that, I think, is the one thing that attracts people to this petition. We're not actually focused on any particular single issue currently.
Right, so the petition is not about the smoking ban.
Not about smoking ban, not about term limits, not about any particular single issue. It's about giving the residents of Arlington a bigger say.
Now, is there a term limit issue signature gathering going on as well? Is there?
There was talk of that, and we actually considered it as well with CBA, but we couldn't put together the right verbiage and the right coalition. And so we've decided that if the time comes down the road to pursue a term limit petition, having this initiative referendum recall petition in place, that lowering the signature requirement would make that easier in the future, but we're not going to divide our efforts currently. We're going to focus on one.
Okay, so that we have 5 more months to collect
about
10,000
yeah,
signatures.
Total of 10,000 signatures. I don't know what the current numbers of gathered signatures are currently.
So irrespective of how we feel about the smoking ban,
exactly.
If we think that the city of Arlington should be more responsive to citizen input,
yes.
Where can I get the petition?
So you can go through the Citizens for Better Arlington website, the Dream City Coalition website. Citizens for Better Arlington also has a Facebook page, and we promote it in all these locations. And you can download the petition page. It has 10 signature lines, so sign it, get your spouse, your adult children to sign it, and maybe get a couple neighbors as well, and then we'll contact us and we'll be glad to collect them from you.
So CBA who else is involved in that?
So actually the leader of CBA is a young lady by the name of Faith Bussey. She is definitely the powerhouse behind it. We also have a lovely young lady named Kelly Cannon, who has been called the General by many because she makes sure we get things done.
Somewhat militant.
Absolutely. We have past city council candidates who are part of our organization, from Pablo Frias to Teresa Rushing. And of course, you've been involved with our efforts.
I have been involved, and it's always been big fun. Well, I like it's a good group of people that just want the city to work better, be more responsive. Now, Dream City Coalition is the group of people who are actually suing the city on the basis, and of course, Nora Law is representing them as a white hat law case. How did the Dream City Coalition come about, Nick?
Well, I think just from my experience, it made sense to get not just me, but other people that are impacted. So we started talking about that and having meetings.
Shauna Ryder is another billiard room owner who's the coordinator. She couldn't be here today. About 10 organizations that are represented there. It's been somewhat frustrating, I have to say. I have to admit on my part that you would have thought that we'd have everybody who stands to lose from this thing be involved, but there seems to be
They probably don't realize what they can lose.
and there seems to be a sense that it's difficult to fight, so we'll just hope for the
sure.
best.
It is.
And so
It is very difficult.
there's very little case law on it. So most business owners just simply choose to take it on the chin. There are a few that I think stand to gain because they say, well, I'll have my patio and all my competition that doesn't have a patio is going to go out, so I'll make more money even if the city as a whole lose.
I'm not so sure, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, how is your organization dealing with you're building the patio, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
But how much is that going to cost?
One of them's $80,000. The other one, we don't have bids on yet, but so I couldn't say for sure. But it's going to be north of $50,000.
What you're banking on is that everybody else will lose enough
No, well,
business.
I don't. The way I see it is it'll let us survive,
Right.
which is exactly what happened in Waco. We have the patio, but we're still way below what we were before.
Right.
So we're still
Kind of
struggling.
hoping for the best.
Yes.
Of course, Fort Worth is looking at a smoking ban as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in some respects that's going to be beneficial to your actual organization.
Yes, that's true.
Because it gives the clients who want to smoke fewer places to flee to.
It's like in Tempe, the reason it happened so quickly and shockingly is that there's Chandler and Phoenix both allowed smoking in billiard rooms. So boom. In Waco, there's no venues to go outside. And so if there were cities outside of Waco, we would have gone under with or without a patio. I'm
Right.
sure of that.
Well, it seems as though their people will stay home when they need to. If they want to smoke and there's no place to go, they just stay home. And so
Well, that at council meetings, I would say, one of the unintended consequences of this is that the people most affected by secondhand smoke are the young people. People
Right.
that are 3 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and they're the ones most susceptible to it. And so that consequence is rather than being in a pool room or a bingo parlor, they'll be at home with their grandchildren or their children. And those kids don't get a chance to vote.
right. On that note, we will take a break and be right back.
Oh, hang on to your hat, folks. More with Warren Nord when we get back.
Welcome back. In this segment, I would like to talk about the philosophy of some of the movers and shakers in this, and the motivations in this effort. Nick, you've had, of course, the most experience of anybody. What have you learned over the years about the folks that are behind all these things?
Well, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is the 6th largest foundation in the country. And one of the sons of Johnson & Johnson left his stock, which generates $450 million a year that they can use for health issues or other things. And so, and they actually did a lot of good over the years because the probably back in the 60s, there were 60% of the population smoked. It's down to 16% now. There's a lot of money that they have to fight for secondhand smokes. I think everybody agrees that smoking is bad, but there are a lot of people that are smokers, and so they just keep coming after you, and it's really, really hard to get over that.
Smoking, of course, is disfavored, but cigar smoking and nice cigar smoking, lounges, that's favored. It's actually, I think, on the rise. I mean, you go down to Sundance Square and there's Silver Leaf and there's other places where cigar smoking is kind of cool. And if you're a businessman, you pull out a stogie and you hang out with your friends and you all smoke a cigar, and it's it's kind of a cool thing. And so it seems as though there's almost a class issue.
Yeah, that raises the question. That's a good example, and the bingo halls are an example. So if it's all about the health, then how do you justify that? where
Yeah,
it's okay for one group and not another group.
Apparently, we've decided that cigarette smoking and the cancerous effects doesn't impact you in a bingo hall, but it does affect you if you're in a billiard room. So the city council, of course, given this benefit to say, well, we're going to allow the fraternal organizations, we're going to allow them to have their family picnics where you can smoke around children, and that's perfectly fine. And you can smoke, as long as you're over 21, you go to a bingo hall and do that. But on the basis of this nonprofit, because the bingo halls have this nonprofit element, we're going to differentiate that as though that matters to cancer issues. I keep trying to struggle with that, and
I do too.
It seems to be just a facade of a difference, so they can justify a different treatment. Of course, your organization, they do work with charities and raise money from charities from time to time, and of course, Shauna does that too, and they bring commercial aspects. And
back in the good old days when I had more locations, we would have a golf tournament in Dallas every year. We gave $10,000 to the Wounded Warriors. We gave a similar amount to Down children, the Red Cross. So we when we could, and then the difference is that in our tournaments, there was no one paid. Our employees did all the work. Like they would be watch the hole-in-one contest to see who got closest, and they would do all the ticket writing, and so we would have 15, 20 people out of there working. And in the bingo parlors, those people are paid. They're not.
Yeah, they call themselves nonprofit, but I recall that there are a lot of nonprofits where there's lots of people getting paid lots of money.
They get health insurance, they get paid a salary.
Yeah, people think nonprofit as charitable. All nonprofit means is that there's no passive shareholder that's making money as an owner. But that doesn't mean that people are not making money all throughout the system. It's not like people are donating their time.
I'm pretty sure that the people that own the building make the money.
Oh, they make a lot of money, right. And of course we see articles routinely about the abuse of certain bingo halls and places. So that's an up and coming thing. I want to talk also about the difference between public and private. There seems to be a confusion between saying, well, I own my own restaurant or bar or billiard hall. And so I invite the public to come in, but it's not a publicly owned organization. And we seem to be confused about, well, if the public can generally go there, then city councils don't have any problem controlling it and every aspect of it. When we have adults congregating in a way that they want to, and there doesn't seem to be any respect for private property just because, well, the public gets to go there, so we're going to regulate it. At the same time, we're going to say that the fraternity organizations, where they can have they can have picnics in parks with children and smoke all day long. I find that odd.
I do too, and I actually grew up in a communist country for a few years.
Did you? Which one?
Mainland China.
Is that right?
And what I told the city council when I was speaking about the smoking ban was that in my experience, in mainland China, communist China, they had fewer smoking bans. They had more freedom of people being able to smoke in public places or in small shops or wherever they wanted to than we seem to be wanting to allow in America, the land of the free, under these types of ordinances. And I just found it really incongruous. It was like, wait a minute, this is private property. Where is your right as the government to tell private property what they can and can't do in their own business? And honestly, if employees didn't want to work in a smoke-filled environment, they wouldn't do so.
It would be different if it might be arguably different if there weren't plenty of jobs out there. But I remember back when I was going through college and I waited tables the whole time, and I wore contacts back then, and I always wanted the smoking section because I could make more money in the smoking section all day long.
I have a background working in restaurants as well.
Yeah,
and trust me, you want the drinkers, you want the
right.
smokers.
The sinners tip more.
Exactly.
So sad to say, but it's still true. It seems as though prohibition was an effort to say this liquor is not good for us, therefore we're going to make it illegal. And it gave us the modern drug war. It gave us modern all sorts of ills. It gave us Al Capone. It gave us the Kennedys. I mean, there's no limit to the damage that the drug war has done to us. and here we're doing the same thing with cigarettes. It seems as though if we allow people to associate as they will, and we can go ahead and control smoking in public, but we differentiate with the public and the private. And a billiard room is a private facility where adults congregate, and they ought to be allowed to get together and do what they want in an era where we should have the freedom to do what we want with our own bodies and our own spaces. I find it amazing that we continue to do
You're
this.
not going to stop smoking because of that. And there are plenty of places. There are plenty of places people can go where there's no smoking. So.
Right. And so,
What I find interesting, you mentioned the prohibition, is that we tried the constitutional amendment route, and obviously the people rejected it after a certain period of time. It caused all these social ills. The gangsters started up and everything like that. And now it seems to me that we're using the regulatory process, whether it be the federal level, the state level, or the local level, with these regulations of how people can live their lives. And that, I think, is honestly, it's a doomed failure. Despite the fact that regulating to a certain degree is a good thing for society, but when you go past that point, people reject that, and people aren't having their say currently in these regulations.
well, what I fear, certainly in Arlington, is that the city council is using this ban to actually eliminate certain undesirable businesses from certain areas. They don't want you to go out of business, but they do want a lot of what we might consider dive bars to go out of business, so better organizations can come in. It's been an ongoing problem with our city that we tend to say, if you're in this club and you know the right people, then what you want to do is worthwhile, and the city will support you. But if you don't go to our organizations, and if you don't hang out with us, then you're kind of the city level deplorable, and we're really not that interested. So, but it doesn't seem to matter much. So we'll continue with the lawsuit. We'll continue the fight. Good luck with the signature efforts. People can visit the CBA website and to download the petition. And if you have any other questions, feel free to holler at us. Please subscribe to the venue of your choice to watch more of these videos. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, that's a wrap, folks, and we want to thank you for listening to the White Hat Law Show here with Warren Norrid. To find out more about Warren, check him out at norridlaw.com. See you next time.